So this company makes $96 million a day by renting cars. Not every year, not every month, every single day. I'm talking about Enterprise. This is the biggest car rental company in the world. Get this, 9,500 locations around the globe, 3 different brands, and 417 rentals a minute. I'm gonna tell you exactly how they do it, how they got started, and how they grew to be this big as a private company owned by one single family. Let's get to the show. So we're gonna start off with the Enterprise story by rewinding to 1957. That's the year Jack Taylor opens his car leasing business. So Jack's the founder. Customers are getting vehicles for weeks, months, or years at a time. And before long, Jack notices something kind of weird. Customers are asking if they can rent cars by the day, and he's very confused by this. You see, Hertz and Avis already exist. It's 1957. Those companies already exist, and they do that. They do daily car rentals, and Jack Taylor is focused on longer term types of leases, weeks, months, or years at a time, typically for businesses. But when customers ask for stuff, you gotta listen. Even though Hertz and Avis are doing it and they're everywhere, Jack notices something. They're not really everywhere. Even though they have lots of locations, people aren't getting what they want. Then it hits him. It hits him like a bag of bricks. The big guys, Hertz and Avis, are actually only in one spot. You see, they have locations primarily at airports, and they're serving tourists. They're serving travelers. They're serving people while they're on the road away from home. But what about locals? You don't have a big car rental company that is serving locals in their own city. Those are Jack's customers, and they want to rent cars too. They want to rent cars by the day. So in 1962, he pivots to rentals, away from leasing and over to daily rentals. And all of a sudden, growth explodes. Within a few years, he's up to 50 locations. St. Louis, Atlanta, Nashville, and then he starts to think big. So fast forward now to the 1980s. Couple decades later, Enterprise is dominating the local markets, and it's time to open up more sales channels because their primary sales channel up until this point was basically just having the locations in the cities. But in order to grow the business, here's what the management team does. They go to insurance companies. Insurance companies need to rent cars regularly for the repairs that are happening with their customers. Customer gets into an accident, they get a fender bender, they take their car in to be repaired, they call their insurance company, and the insurance company needs to refer them to a car rental company. Well, why can't Enterprise be their car rental company of choice? So insurance companies become a major sales channels. Another sales channel is government. Government agencies need cars for agents in the field. Think about it. The FBI, the CIA, people that work for the Pentagon, people that work for the executive branch, Congress, they need to be traveling. And when they're traveling, they got to rent cars. Why not do a massive deal with Enterprise? Corporations are another one. Corporations need cars for employees on the move, traveling salespeople, traveling executives. You're in a city for one day, you're out the next. You want to have easy access to a car. Enterprise is there for it. And each one of these segments is worth billions. Enterprise has them all. Get this, Adobe rents 15,000 cars a year from Enterprise. The Department of Defense is at 55,000 a year, and the biggest customer of all, State Farm Insurance. Big insurance company rents 300,000 vehicles every single year. Now here's where it gets really good, because so far all we're talking about is money being made from car rentals. But Enterprise doesn't stop making money when the cars stop getting rented. Because renting cars is a good business, but the cash keeps flowing long after the rent dries up, my friends. Enterprise makes sure of it. So in 2023, they made $3.6 billion just selling their cars to consumers. So when the 2022 models go out of style and they got to replenish their fleet, they got a whole bunch of Malibus, they got a whole bunch of Camrys, they got a whole bunch of Volvos. What do they do with them? They just let them rust? Of course not. They sell them to consumers. So that made up $3.6 billion, plus another $2 billion through what are called the wholesale channels. So that's dealerships, right? I can sell a car direct to consumer, D2C, Or I can sell, say, 100 cars to one single dealership. That brought in $2 billion. And the rest goes to scrapyards. And even then, even when you're just talking about scrap metal, Enterprise takes in $50 million. Those catalytic converters are not cheap. They are not free, my friends. Enterprise is making money from the full material and the rentals right down to the raw material and the scrapyard. Now, here's my take. I love the simplicity of this business, meshed with relentless execution, and there is so much to learn. Number one, do not be precious with your business model. When customers want to hand over their cash, you better be listening. Jack Taylor was listening to his customers. He didn't have pride and say, oh, I know you're asking for that, but this is what I do. Forget that. There could be a bigger opportunity just around the corner, but you got to listen to what your customers are asking for. Number two, do not assume you are late to the market. Never assume that you're late to the market because markets reset. Leaders get lazy. New customers roll in. You just need to find a wedge. I'll talk more about that in a second. And finally, do not operate like everybody else. Enterprise is a family business. Notice how this whole time I wasn't talking about fundraising. I wasn't talking about taking the company public. No, it is a private family business. No outside investors, no private equity. These guys are playing by their own rules. And that is how you make $96 million a day renting cars. Quick break so I can tell you about my new book, Marketing Superpowers. Build a brand so good that getting customers feels like magic. You know, I have spent over a decade working with over 20,000 influencers, Instagrammers, YouTubers, celebrities, seeing how they connect with audiences, seeing how they build their own personal brands, and kind of dissecting exactly how it works. And then a lot of these people wind up launching businesses and they do so well. How are they able to do it? Is it just because they're famous? No, there's a lot more to it than that. I have dissected it, I have analyzed it, I have put it in a book for you called Marketing Superpowers, available right now at marketingsuperpowersbook.com. So I want to talk more about this concept of the wedge, which I talk about a lot. You know, I like talking about a wedge, not a niche. I think a niche is overplayed. I think a niche is misunderstood. A wedge is something you can actually just wedge yourself into. Think of yourself like a pointy triangle. You're going to squeeze into a corner. You're going to squeeze under the door. You're going to squeeze around the fence. And the wedge in the case of Enterprise was the local market. So even though you could look a 360 view over this market and say, well, you know what? There's already big players. Hertz is here, Avis is here, they've taken over the whole market. There's no room for little old Jack to come in and do anything with Enterprise. But that's not the case, because if you find a wedge, you can get in. The wedge in Jack's case was going local, and that meant just situating his locations in different places. So he didn't go to airports. He didn't go near airports. He went inside the cities. And generally, he went to more rural places, suburbs, where the rent was a little cheaper. People don't mind traveling a little bit. Hey, if you're renting a car because you got into an accident, if you're going to pick me up anyways, yeah, I'll travel a little further to go ahead and get my rental car. Maybe you can just drive it to me. So thinking about your business and where you can wedge yourself in, it could be as simple as changing the geographic makeup. Maybe it's changing the demographics of the customer you're serving, or the psychographics of the customer you're serving, or the features, or the functionality, or the flavors you offer. There are so many different ways, depending on your industry, to figure out a little wedge, a little difference that separates you from your competitors. And that takes me to the next point, which is that it's not about the product, it's about the customer. We have this obsession in our culture. It's the Shark Tankification of everything around us, where we look at a business, at a startup business, and we think, oh, that's a good product, that's a bad product. Let me tell y'all something. Every business that I have ever been successful with has been the most basic product. Long before the whole boring business thing was cool, my business that I've had for 10 years is a marketing agency. But it's not about the business itself. It's about how we operate it. It's about who we serve. It's about our pricing model. It's about our operating model, our logistics model, our sales model. Everything about it is different. Everything about it is unique. On the surface, you could say, well, John, marketing services are a commodity. Everybody offers it. not like we do, not in any way like we do. And so you can have a business that is simple on the surface, but is actually very, very different because you're serving the customer in a unique way and you're running the business in a unique way. So when you look at a company like this, car rentals, you can think, oh, well, this is so simple, it's so basic, others exist already. Don't be turned off by that and don't become obsessed with the idea. The idea doesn't need to be all that new. The way you do it needs to be new, and who you serve needs to be new. That's how you got to think about it. And the last piece about this story that I absolutely love is the mystery money machine. Y'all know I love mystery money machines. I talk about this all the time. And the mystery money machine that Enterprise has got is just fantastic. So after you rent all these cars, you still make billions and billions of dollars because you dispose of the cars creatively. Those 3 channels that I mentioned, there are other channels too, but the 3 that I talked about are the direct-to-consumer sales business, the dealership business, we're going to sell cars to dealerships, and the scrapyard business, we're going to take cars that can't be sold for whatever reason, and we're going to scrap them. And you know what? I bet you Enterprise has more businesses, so I know a little bit about the car rental industry, probably more than the average person, and I can tell you a few other ones. So what's stopping Enterprise, for example, or what's stopping the family, the Taylor family that still owns the business today, from owning a whole bunch of dealerships, which I'm sure they do. I don't know if they do for a fact, but I would bet 90% this family owns a whole bunch of dealerships. Why? Because they already have all the inventory. It would make sense for them to just sell the stuff to themselves. What about a leasing business? That would make a lot of sense. What about other types of fleet? Could they operate a taxi company? Could they operate a transportation business? Could they operate other types of services because of what they have? Absolutely. So figuring out new and different ways to monetize the assets you already have is a phenomenal way to achieve profitability, to turn cost centers into profit centers, and to just build a way better business. Yes, you want to focus on the main thing you do, no question about it, but your assets are worth something, and your assets have value even after you've delivered them, and even while you're delivering them, they might have value that you're not even realizing. So pay attention to that. Growing your business isn't just about starting a new product or trying to sell more of the existing product. Of course, you can do those things, but you might actually have assets you're not even realizing are worth more than you're monetizing them for. So pay attention to every single dollar and see if you can invent your own mystery money machine. I love Enterprise. This company is so inspiring in its simplicity, and it's inspiring in the fact that they did it without any outside capital. Man, do I love a good bootstrap story. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Get me at jondavids.com. Get on the newsletter, and I'll talk to you guys next time.